grace and peace. Welcome to another episode of the TBT Show. I'm Anthony Moten, my friend and brother and partner in crime, the resident prima donna.
Not the resident prima donna.
Shawn P. Aguilar.
I thought we were going to go with theologian. I was expecting,
like
something.
If y'all would have been in the room a couple seconds ago, Shawn had to make sure he was good for presentation.
Hey, skincare is important. Okay, it's cold out here. Okay, you can ask you real quick. Lotion, man. It's real simple. It's all, you got me. I put on lotion. Yeah. What is that? I mean, that's prima donna now?
Keep putting on lotion.
I'm just trying to, take it from ashy to classic, buddy. That's it. We're just trying to keep it moving.
This guy's too funny, golly. Man, thank y'all for joining us. We've been out for a few weeks, so me and Shawn just kind of catching up. I ain't had nobody to mess with, so
yeah. Moten, I want to welcome you to 2023. Welcome to the Jordan year,
man.
23. Yes, sir. I know you love it.
Man, they just named that thing after somebody. That was.
Yeah, y'all know I had to mess with him. Real quick, because we have a more serious topic to get into today, but I did need to I've been waiting to mess with him about this because it's been out for a couple weeks, but the NBA named the new MVP trophy after the greatest basketball player of all time. You know him, you love him, Michael Jordan.
Only until the greatest of all times retires. And then they're going to swiftly move it from...
Michael Jordan's already retired, bro.
Exactly.
But I do... No, that's what I'm saying. He's the greatest basketball player. And so... But yeah, it's a beautiful trophy that highlights a lot of his accolades. They even made sure that the base was six-sided to reflect his 6 championships. They did all kinds of little artistic cues to make sure to highlight some of the great accomplishments of Michael Jordan. So maybe one day LeBron can go ahead and receive this trophy.
Yeah, well, did they add a side for gambling on that? They left gambling off.
It has nothing to do with the game of basketball,
I'm just saying,
sir.
Revisionist history.
It has nothing to do with the game. Okay, so a word to the audience. So whenever you have a weak argument, this is what's called an ad hominem attack, where instead of attacking the argument, the body of work, you attack the person. So that's just free from the debate.
I mean, we're gonna move on.
Students.
Okay. let me ask you this.
Yeah.
On the all-time numbers, who has the most assists? Michael Jordan and LeBron James. You don't have to answer.
In how many seasons?
So it's our fault he retired for 3 years?
But what I'm saying, okay, so let me ask you this, okay? If you have somebody, let's say you have someone that is in a sales office, okay, and you have someone that is the top salesperson. They do it for 10 years and then they quit, right?
Okay.
But you have somebody else, they do it for 30 years, okay? They sold a third as much, but at the end of their career, they each sold the exact same amount. But one was the very best at what he did for 10 years, and then the other person, they didn't do necessarily as well, but they just did it 3 times as long, even though they were only producing a third. Who's the greater salesperson?
What?
The person that's number one.
So now we're going to knock LeBron on longevity.
That's not knocking him. It's just, what did you do within these years that you had? Okay. If you're going to compare apples to apples, you can't give somebody else.
Well, you said the same amount of time or the same numbers or more time but the same numbers. He scored more points, way more points.
In how much time?
Way more assists.
In how much time?
I mean, you're saying
bring it down to an average per year, or do it in the same time period. Give me your first 10 years or your first 15 years.
Okay, so
put it in the same category.
He would still be
no.
He probably has more assists in a game than Michael Jordan had over his career.
He also has more turnovers too, but we're not talking about that. Check the facts.
Okay, how many championships does Michael Jordan have without Scottie Pippen?
What does that do? How many does LeBron have without 4 other players? I mean, what kind of argument is that?
I'm just saying all the stuff that I know y'all bring up.
I just want you to know
he's the better player.
That it's it's sad seeing you like this.
Okay. He's the better player.
You're better than this. You're better than this, Moten. And so
let the hatred continue. This man's scoring 40 points a game at the age of 40, and we continue to hate on him.
Hey, dude, Jordan was playing for the Wizards and scoring a similar amount of points. I want to say he averaged 37 when his last season, and he played more minutes without the era of load management.
But he wasn't 38. I'm just saying.
No, he was up in age.
But not 38.
Okay, 38, 37. What difference does it make?
I'm just saying.
Hey, bro, all I know is that it's a team game, all right?
So now it's a team game. Okay.
Well, no, it's a team game, but what I'm saying is what is the ultimate goal? Championships. You see what I'm saying? Championships. And then you add in, like, he's gotten every single, like the 95 to 96 Jordan. Come on, man. There's no way that LeBron at any time could touch him. First of all, he's not, the only person that I would even have a consideration in terms of, hey, a discussion of that would be Kobe Bryant. LeBron.
So if you just had to rank them 1, 2, 3, it would be
MJ, Kobe, LeBron all day.
This conversation is officially over. This dude is crazy.
Come on, bro.
Okay.
You can't really believe this.
Okay. Okay.
You can't really believe this. At
If
first, I thought he just did this to, like, be the counter argument to my argument. I feel like he may actually be in danger of believing this stuff, folks. He may be in danger.
If I had to rank him, of course it'd be LeBron.
Terrible choices.
Ramon James, the GOAT, 1. But I put Kobe above Michael. It's you'd get
farther trying to argue Kobe than LeBron.
Man, look, it's revisionist history. But anyway, they had to name the thing after somebody, so y'all can keep this going. Why not him? I mean, for a minute anyway. I mean, who was it named after before? Was it Bill Russell?
I think so.
If it was Bill Russell, he got more championships than Michael Jordan, so that makes him a better player. Hey, anyway,
you'd have a better.
Give me a couple more months, and then we'll be talking about LeBron, Trump, and Kareem, and then
he still is LeBron James.
He could cross the Red Sea.
Rex.
He could cross the Red Sea.
Shankopotamus.
The other night, we're moving. The other night, his birthday, I think he scored like 38 or 39 or whatever. And I'm messing around on Facebook, and I said, thinking about you and so many others, I said, okay, on his birthday, all he scored was 38. He could have scored 39.
I saw you post that.
Like, because I know that's what
you're petty.
I mean, I'm just saying the haters. I know that's what y'all.
But again, still not a great argument. But I understand.
Okay,
I understand.
Anybody that understands the game and that's just not stuck in yesterday understands that the greatest player of all time.
Okay,
player in every arena.
I want you to walk in here for our next episode with some LeBron James branded shoes.
Okay, I'll wear them.
No. Not his shoes. LeBron James branded, not a deal that some other company made him. Do that.
Who do you think made the first Jordans? It ain't like he lunched out on his own.
I get it, but he has it now. Now he has his own brand.
Like who? Like what does that mean? Who's? Oh wait,
just saying.
Nike has only given one person a lifetime contract.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think that is?
What difference does it make?
I'm just saying, you're talking about a brand, like.
But what's the difference? So it's like, would you rather have a lifetime check as an employee or have a lifetime check as owner?
But he owns
writing
Nike.
checks.
He owns Nike. Anybody that understands,
he owns Nike.
He owns Nike.
Owns Nike. I'll pay attention to that to the next investor relations call and see if he owns it.
I mean, he does, and there would be no Jumpman without Nike. It's
no,
not
correct.
Like,
yeah. But
it's not like he did.
But what I'm saying is that
baller brand and just created his own lane.
But what I'm saying, he owns
Nike
that brand,
gave
and it's
him
even
his
beyond the shoes. You see what I'm saying? The shoes is obviously the overwhelming majority of the revenue. But hey, man, the Bible says something, in terms of who you should argue with and who you shouldn't argue with. And I feel like in this particular small finite area, I'm choosing not to argue.
Yeah, don't.
Because, people may not be able to tell the difference between us.
Yeah, that don't mean don't. I mean, it's something. This is the picture of what my dad used to say.
Okay, talk to
He's
me.
like, when you know the truth and you just keep hearing something else, talking to that person is like talking to a stop sign. So I see big red right now. So I'm not going to keep talking to the stop sign.
No, hey, look, man. You started it. I just wanted to welcome you. You're my friend into your Jordan year 23, and just make sure that you're aware, because you might have missed it. It wasn't
even noteworthy. I was like, I saw it and kept scrolling. That's
of course
TikTok
you did.
These days, yeah.
Of course you saw and kept scrolling.
Yeah, well,
no, I hear you, but it's okay. It's okay.
Congratulations, Michael Jordan, on a trophy being named after you. I guess that's what we celebrate.
I mean, all it is just the vote of confidence of the league and those involved that, hey, this is how we recognize greatness.
We got to give him something.
This is how we recognize. He didn't even want it.
You believe that?
What does he need that for now at this age and stage?
Something.
What do you have to give him? He already has everything he needs. What else?
Bill Russell had a trophy named after him. The humanitarian award. Kareem had a trophy named after him. I don't think
Michael Jordan's worried about that.
I really don't. Absolutely. He loves for his name to be called.
Well, who doesn't?
I mean,
show me the competitive person in any field of endeavor that doesn't want to be recognized by his peers. I mean, that doesn't want to be recognized, by his community.
Hey, when you start talking about, LeBron passing Magic Johnson in assists, LeBron passing Kareem in points, LeBron passing, whoever in rebounds, like his name is called for something, not because a trophy was named after him.
But that's just, again, it's just a symbol of respect for what he contributed to the game.
Okay. He did contribute a lot.
You see what I'm saying?
Michael Jordan contributed a lot.
That's good. We can stop it right there.
Yeah. The 13s were my best pair of tennis shoes ever made. So, he contributed a lot. And that's where it stops.
Well, that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah.
That's where we'll leave it.
So for all you LeBron haters,
because I saw him messing with you. Now, I left you alone. on Facebook, but I saw other people messing with you. Yeah, you had your hands full, so I was like, okay.
There was nobody but people that Greg. Yeah, of course. Of course. Go to bed. What is he doing?
Oh man,
Mike is. I'll give him the best in that era, but if we're talking about over the course of time, he'd have to be at least number 2, probably number 3 or 4. But okay, moving on. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, moving on.
So while that's all fun and discussing those type of things are kind of light. The news has been dominated lately, as it rightfully should be, by the situation with Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin, who took a pretty stiff hit, but nothing outside of what you would normally see on any given down, right?
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
It's a routine play.
Routine play.
Routine hit, routine contact. We've seen it, over and over again.
Over and over.
And actually, it was more surprising when he went down.
In the way that he went down. Right. And so if you haven't seen the clip, which I know that a lot of outlets are not playing it out of respect, for him, for his situation, but he took a stiff shot and got up, fairly quickly, but then in a few seconds you could see that he was losing his legs and he ended up falling backwards, and he had to be resuscitated. I mean, this wasn't just send out a stretcher and everybody take a knee and they take him out on the truck and
thumbs up,
and everybody, this is a situation where his heart stopped.
And from some accounts, I know Fox Sports announced that he had to be revived twice.
Right. So he flatlined, coded out, and so that completely stopped everything, as it should. And so, players from both teams, coaches from both teams, obviously, agreed that contest could not continue.
Yeah.
And so we have, and I'm sure you already have, and I already have, prayed for him and his strength and his recovery and his family and the organizations, as they deal with this. And I know that people of faith that have heard this, heard about this, have done the same thing. And actually, there was a gentleman on NFL Live that actually did pray on air. It's a very rare occasion. Very rare occasion. And I do commend him for having the courage to display his faith, and to go to the Lord in prayer.
The
because
only person that can resolve where we are. So that I've seen, and I've done some just kind of looking into what kind of guy he was. After the fact, knew very little about him other than the school he went to. Two-year player who started this. He wasn't a rookie. This is his second year, but he started this thing with the defensive backs with Buffalo, them praying together.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a clip of him saying a few weeks before that Monday night game that they had just come out of their DB prayer, and he was just trying to enjoy every moment because life is fleeting. You don't know how long you'll be able to play this game at this level. That he was just taking it day by day and enjoying every moment of it. So for him to be that kind of guy is even that much more. You would hate to see it happen to anybody, but especially a young man of faith. So I think the greatest picture for me of that night, it should have been, I think, picturesque of just the lesson that needs to be taught to all of us.
Yes.
Right. So, Buffalo, the players, they put on their gear, Bengals put on their gear, and they're coming out to compete against each other, to war against each other, to battle against each other. And then when he goes down, now it's not about us against each other.
Right.
So to see these players stand in solidarity and pray together and lean on each other and,
that's sportsmanship.
And cry on each other's shoulders. Yeah. Like the bigger picture for us, it should be like, at a certain point, whether we play on the same team or not, whether we got the same on uniform,
the humanity should override.
Like all we have is each other.
Rivalry.
I think that the night, after they suspended the game for a while, didn't make any kind of determinations. Good thing they didn't. It allowed the ambulance to get out and get to where it needed to be, without fans and that kind of deal being in the way. But later that night when they dispersed everybody from the stadium. At the hospital, they show some scenes of fans with
players,
Buffalo gear on, fans with Bengal gear on, standing in a circle, praying together, and whatever. So I think the bigger picture for all of us is whether we play on the same team or not, whether we have the same drives or motives or not. At the end of the day, there should be some things where we can just say, okay, we're what we stand against aside, this is the time to stand together. And so, because we live in a generation where we're opposed culturally. You got blacks against whites, and then we're opposed politically. You got the Republicans and the Democrats. We're opposed. Even medically now, you got the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. It's like at a certain point.
Right,
we're not going to go forward, as a generation until we learn how to, come together.
Yeah.
And so seeing that picture of all of these players just kind of coming together, these coaches coming together, leaning on each other, I think was the picture that we hate to see it in this form, but a picture that our culture needed to see.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was leaning into with, the on-air prayer.
Yeah.
Is that the common bond of our humanity? That's something that no matter where you're from, what is the melanin content of your skin, how you decide to live your life, all these different types of things, your socioeconomic status.
Right.
At the end of the day, the bottom line, the lowest common denominator is that we have the common bond of humanity.
Right. Right.
And to see a fellow human being hurt and helpless, we should do everything we can to render aid,
Right.
And if you're not a medical professional, then you do have available to you the apparatus of prayer.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So there were some positive things that obviously you'd never want to see it out of that situation, out of that circumstance. But yes, there were some positive things that I hope that people will take into account, that public prayer is something that will be more accepted the way it used to be.
Absolutely.
That you could call the name of Christ, that you could name the name of Jesus. Because it seems like even if you're a Christian and we're in the United States of America, you can say God, you can say Father, you can say Spirit.
Right.
But there's some sensitivity around the name Jesus.
Right.
And there's no reason that we should be ashamed.
Right.
Of that name that is above every name.
Right.
And especially, in this type of situation, he's the creator and the sustainer.
Right.
Is in him that we live, that we move, and that we have our being. And who else is gonna fix this?
Right.
Other than, and I get it. There's a sensitivity to other, belief systems, other faith systems. Right. But if you went to Saudi Arabia, they're not shy about naming another name.
Right.
If you went to India, they're not shy about naming another name.
Right.
If you go to these different places around the world, they're not afraid to name any other name.
Right.
So I hope we can get back to a point where in America we can name the name that's above every name.
Right. And be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think of, you said he's the sustainer, and I think of my grandmother who would say that he's the doctor that's never lost a patient. And
a lawyer that's never lost a case.
Man, I try to remind us every Sunday that at your wellest moment you're still sick enough to die.
Yeah, I mean we're literally dying.
Right. It's God that holds us and sustains us. And so, my of course my prayer is for Damar's complete recovery.
Yes. Swift and smooth recovery.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then for his family that has to be an emotional wreck right now.
Yeah.
And I, the other day I was thinking, about him and his condition. We hadn't had any updates, and just kind of anxious to hear something. And I said, if I had that level of angst, then I'm sure his mother,
Lord have mercy,
has the same level. Just, thankfully she was at the game,
yes,
and got an opportunity to ride in the ambulance with him, and see her son. Because I don't think that's any kind of scene that a mother or father needs to see over a TV, and so thankfully she was there. Here's some things that we can throw around going forward. And again, at the close of our show today, I want to whisper a word of prayer.
Yes,
and not just for him, but for his family and all friends, all those that are connected with him. But going forward, even for other players, I think it's imperative for us to understand, because a lot of times we get caught on looking at sports as just entertainment, right? And so, they're just because they're fast and they're strong, and they can catch a ball or throw a ball. Sometimes we give them, superhuman
status.
Yeah, and they're human,
right?
And they're playing a very dangerous and violent game.
Yeah.
And so, even for Hamlin, if he can't come back to the league, and I know it's been discussed on a lot of different other platforms, if he can't come back to playing, then one, he loses his dream. He's playing his dream. And then two, like what kind of position does that put him in, him and his family in, financially, because it's not like he's a vet.
Correct.
He's only been in the league for a couple of years.
Right.
And he hadn't reached that minimum number of, vested. He's 6th-round draft pick, so he doesn't have this high dollar.
Right. High profile contract.
Yeah, contract.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so, the bigger picture, I think, for us is just, especially the league, the collective bargaining agreement and the Players Association and their union and, all of that, them speaking up for these guys, and not just the main guys, but, the guys like Damar Hamlin, who's going to give you 110% on the field.
Right.
Playing a very violent game. If these kind of things happen, there needs to be something put in place that gives, foundation financially,
right,
to him and his family. And all this fighting over, the league's, health insurance policy. There's certain numbers that have gone down. What the league was willing to do to players, and for players, and it's gone down because money they had to spend for CT and other things had to go up. But again, these guys are putting their life on the line.
Yeah.
For us to, wear a jersey and be proud of a certain organization, and that should come with a certain, financial support.
Right.
So
whenever the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, whenever it was being built, it's over, a bay, type of deal. And the height at which the bridge was being built, if you were to fall from, the scaffolding where they're trying to build it, the impact against, even though it's water, the impact from that height would kill you. It'd be the equivalent of hitting concrete.
Right.
And production was going very slow because people were scared to make a mistake, because people had died and were dying because they took a wrong step or whatever the case may be. Finally, one of the engineers decided that, hey, you know what, if we can increase productivity, if we would find a way to build a net under the work area so that if someone were to slip and fall, that instead of them hitting the water, they would hit the net. And so from the time that it was installed, productivity quadrupled, quintupled, because the workers knew that even if they make a small misstep, the worst case scenario is that they would get caught by the net.
Right.
If the NFL could find a way to build a net,
right,
so that these players that just in the unfortunate event that their foot slips,
right,
they would still have, and their family would have some sort of safety net.
Right.
Then it would be a lot easier for the players to play this game, and everyone can have more of a peace of mind.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
But right now, there's not a net.
And there's not a net.
There's just the body of water.
And I think it's not a net because of greed. Like, we're so
100%. Well, you don't want to give guaranteed contracts.
That's a big one.
And so I get it, but there still needs to be. So I know I already made a comment in terms of sales, but that's a lot of, in terms of my background as corporate and those type of things. But one of the most popular means of compensation is salary plus commission. And the reason that it is because the salary gives you whatever will cover your basic needs.
Right.
But then there's a bonus or some other type of performance-based element that rewards you for a job well done.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
And it's very popular because then people know that, hey, I show up and I clock in or I come into the office and I know that worst case scenario, I at least have this.
Right.
But the company will reward me for performing at a higher level.
Right.
It's one of the most popular systems because it gives you that safety net, but also there's the incentive to perform. Does that make sense?
Right.
So that may be difficult for them to stomach a full guaranteed contract, but there should be at least some portion, including health care and life insurance, that is guaranteed.
And you would think because again, like these owners are not millionaires.
They're billionaires.
So with the kind of income that is being made from, and we're just looking at the base, just ticket sales, not including, paraphernalia and all that kind of, stuff, whatever. With the kind of money that they're making, again, life is just not about money.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can get all the money in the world. And if you don't treat people right, then like, what have you done? Like, it's just as easy and simple as just doing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's easy to say from our worldview. But if you have someone that has the worldview of get all you can all you get, and sit on the can.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
And I get it.
If you don't have a worldview that is tied to a creator and a divine lawgiver that has orchestrated how the world ought to operate, and that's given on a basic level, what is right and what is wrong. A little child understands very quickly what's right and what's wrong. Now they do what's wrong anyway because they're selfish. They're selfish little things, little human beings that want to get their way. And it's through, raising that child and teaching them why you should do right. But the default setting of humanity is to seek its own selfish gain. And if people never grow out of that, if you're never raised to be anything but that, and you grow up to be the billionaire sports franchise owner, then it's like, well, hey, do the best you can. If you get hurt out there, hey, tough cookies. Give me another one.
See, the only thing about, that kind of mindset is like, and even from a business perspective, the more you spend, ultimately, the more you're going to make. So
not necessarily. A lot of businesses go out of business because they spend too much money.
But then there's some other businesses.
Now if you do a wise calculation and you put your investment in the right spot, which, they're tremendously profitable, as you said. I think that it would be easier and it would save them a lot of liability in terms of making sure that there are some things in place, especially for those players that do get some type of catastrophic injury.
Right.
And like you said, it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do, and it's it's not only...
not even in the grand scheme of things. I know where you're going. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive.
It's not on the dollar.
Because if you do it for everybody, and you do a negotiation with whatever insurance company or whatever the case may be, and you spread that risk across all the players, then you can arrive at something that
right.
that you know everybody can have that peace of mind, and then that makes it easier to work harder. That makes it easier, you know, to say, hey, should I take the risk? You know, because the more you see things like this, the more you have mothers that clutch their sons
and say absolutely
and say, no, you cannot play football.
And again, like we live in this generation, I'm looking at, because football used to be more violent than it is now.
Oh yeah, like I think I told you before. I looked at a clip of the opening sequence in the 70s. It was for like Monday Night Football or something, and you know they had like the highlights for the little intro package. 9 out of 10 of the clips are now illegal.
Right.
Horse collar and face mask and chop blocks. This was on the highlight reel in the 70s.
Yeah. Nobody didn't have no teeth.
Right.
It was when they say punch mouth, it was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You had people, you know, carrying brass knuckles out onto the field. Hey, I mean, it was no joke. I mean, this was a fight.
Yeah.
This was not.
It was that.
Yeah, and then, we're not out here playing checkers.
And I think what's made the game even though they've cut back some rules, what's made it even more violent is you like this level of athlete. Right?
Well, the modern athlete now. So I mean, it's kind of like Rocky. You remember Rocky? What was it? Rocky 3 when he goes to Russia when he fights Ivan Drago. Yeah. Is that 3?
Yeah. Is it 3? I don't know.
Might be 4.
Yeah, had to be.
Because you got the first one. Then you got the rematch with Apollo Creed. Then you got Mr. T. So it's 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4.
Yeah.
Buddy, you know, they showed the montage, right? And so Rocky's doing, you know, the old school manual way, you know, picking up rocks and climbing up mountains and all this different stuff. And then you look at the Russian guy, Ivan Drago, and they got him on all the high-tech stuff. They're giving him the needle. You know, they're doing all these things for performance improvement.
Right.
Or what? Performance enhancing. Remember the PED? You remember performance enhancing drugs. Yeah.
Right.
So this new athlete that has now there's a greater understanding of nutrition. We're just getting bigger just in general. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And you have advanced techniques in terms of training. People are training earlier. They're training longer. So now you get to the league at 22, and I mean, you're probably 20 pounds, 40 pounds heavier at the same position as somebody 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And now that much more mass is hitting you.
Right. Even though you're heavier, you're faster.
You're still faster. So now you got something bigger hitting you harder.
Right. The highlight used to be, oh, he's a linebacker. He runs a 4.8.
Right.
Now every linebacker.
Now he's 275 and runs a 4.4.
Right. Now everybody runs a. So it's like even that play, and that's why I said that's what's so scary about it, because it was basically routine.
Yeah.
That you have a wide receiver, T. Higgins, who it's just a routine play. It wasn't malicious.
No.
He was trying to pick as many yards as he can.
Correct. Yeah, he's trying to push through yards after reception,
and that's and that's
doing his job.
He's gonna
doing his job,
stabilize his career going forward. Mm-hmm. He's trying to pick up as many yards as he can. He's a little, what we would call something, a little thin something, who puts his head down, hits him in the right place at the, the
right place at the wrong time.
Yeah. And and you got this. So just imagine going forward, with guys getting stronger, faster, bigger, earlier.
Right.
You're talking about a hit in the chest creating cardiac arrest to someone who's in prime peak physical condition.
Right. A world-class athlete.
Who's 24.
A world-class athlete. If you play in the NFL, you are a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in the best shape at the best time. You're in your prime.
Your prime.
Prime.
And that's,
on the highest level. On the highest level that it's done.
Just imagine now, like, where we're going. That's what it's imperative.
Yeah.
Because again, these kind of things they're no longer just possible.
They're probable.
They're probable.
Yeah.
And the league needs to do whatever it needs to do to make sure in the event something like this happens, the last thing that family needs to be worried about is the future. The last thing that should push him off of a bed of affliction to run back out to the field should be financial stability.
Right.
That I'm saying most of them are so competitive and the passion is going to but it shouldn't be based on
based it's kind of like
money.
the movie from Any Given Sunday. Whenever it was LT, right? He was in the movie. No, it wasn't.
It's been so long.
I forgot. No, it wasn't LT.
The only one I can
it was the dude that was
remember
playing basically the linebacker, the star linebacker character.
Okay.
And it's like, hey man, he's talking to the doctor. Hey man, just give me the shot. Give me something because I gotta make this bonus. He's trying to get sacks. He's trying to get tackles, and he's trying to hit his bonus because he's trying to make a certain amount of money, to support his family.
That should be that should be the last motivation.
Yeah,
that should be the last motivation. And then even the fallout behind all of this shows us where certain personalities are.
Right, and that's I was just about to make that turn, is that while there were some things, even though it was a terrible situation, there were some encouraging things on the field. Off the field, there were some very disturbing statements and treatment, very insensitive.
Right.
About the situation, how it should be handled, what are some implications going forward. And so hot off of an altercation with his co-host Shannon Sharpe, Skip Bayless decided to remove his shoes and put both of his feet directly in his mouth. Again. At the best, I could describe this as tone deaf, or insensitive, but I'm having trouble not thinking that this is just how he really feels. So he tweeted, to paraphrase, what's going to happen in terms of determining the outcome of this game, because the outcome of this game has playoff implications. And not even, and to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but to my understanding, that game wouldn't determine who goes to the playoffs, just the home field advantage.
Just seeding. Right.
Yeah, just seed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but at a moment where the only concern should be
this young man's life,
his life and health and his strength, it should be Hamlin's health. That's it. We don't need to discuss, anything beyond that. He is, making these statements,
and that so here's a direct read of the original tweet.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how?
Right.
This late in the season, in a game of this magnitude, is critical to the regular season outcome." And of course, he closes with, "which suddenly seems so irrelevant." ... Right. But here's my frustration with Skip. First of all, in order for Skip Bayless, and I'll say this, and I'm saying it, and I ain't taking it back. In order for Skip Bayless to have a show with any kind of decent ratings, he has to be sitting across from someone who is either an iconic sports figure or an iconic sports commentator.
Right. Basically, you got to be Stephen A. Smith, or you got to be
Shannon
Sharpe.
Skip Bayless is short of furniture. Shannon Sharpe needs a chair. Call Skip Bayless. That's it. So the fact that you have been blessed and fortunate enough to be put in a room and put in an environment with some of the some of sports legends is not based on anything he did.
Right.
So learn how to shut up.
Right.
Ryan Clark, who's probably one of my favorite commentators and used to be one of my favorite football players, they tried to bring up on ESPN that night Ryan Clark's health issue. He played for the Steelers. After a game, wasn't feeling right. Whatever. They took him to the hospital. Had to do immediate surgery. Had to take out his spleen and some other organ I can't remember. He lost 40 pounds. And they didn't think he would ever come back in the league. And they, in like, hey, Ryan, from your perspective, what's going through it? He was like, hey, I'm not going to even let y'all do that.
Right.
This has nothing to do with me or my situation.
Right.
And everything to do with Damar Hamlin, that young man who is now fighting to stay alive.
Right.
So if this is an ex-player who can put it where it belongs, surely somebody like a Skip Bayless should be able to say, okay, you know what? This is not about football right now.
Yeah, and here's the deal: is that was the third of several tweets. He also tweeted some things that could be construed as insensitive as well. Not exactly sure. This is a direct read. Not exactly sure what happened to Damar Hamlin. Players on both teams are shaken. Ambulance out on the field. CPR administered. Can't remember play being stopped for this length of time. Just said a prayer for him and his family. So I mean, it's almost like, why are y'all taking so long?
Right.
Then, I've seen so many horrific injuries suffered on football fields, yet never have I seen a reaction like this. In every other situation I witnessed or covered, the game always went on fairly quickly. Again, highlighting...
Let's get back to game.
Right. The attitude was, hey, that's football. For these players, this was different, all caps different. So it's like, why are you trying to go back and forth between these two things? Right. It should be a singular focus of thoughts and prayers for Hamlin. You see what I'm saying? It's like, but you're trying to carry on the business as usual.
And that's
at a time that it's not usual.
No. That shows that Skip Bayless is a non-caring human.
Right. And here's my deal. And I found out later, in kind of doing some additional research before we got on the show. But my first thought was this, is that if this happened to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers,
stop the world,
your response would not have been the same. Yeah. And then in my, looking at different videos and different articles, so on and so forth, Steven Jackson said the same thing. Specifically, if this was Tom Brady,
he would, because he's a big Brady fan.
Big Brady fan.
Matter of fact, that's why him and Shannon got into it the first time.
Correct, and that circles back to the whole deal, where whenever Skip is trying to make a point, why does he have to go to the ad hominem attack on Shannon Sharp, who's his co-host, and didn't play the same position and wasn't claiming to be the greatest whatever?
And I think
you see what I'm saying? Right. And one last thing is that he was slamming Russell Westbrook.
Absolutely.
To an insulting degree. Not just one time hee ha ha Westbrook, but to the point where Russell Westbrook's wife was like, please lay off.
Enough already.
Because you've gone from being an analyst, a commentator, to you're trying to be a comedian.
Right.
And you're trying to insult and harm. Checker Fred played checkers. Right. If your job is to be an analyst and a writer, I just need you to analyze what you see on the screen and write about it.
Right.
Checker Fred played checkers. That's it. Especially, as you said, when you haven't done anything.
Your furniture, bro. Your furniture.
You have not done anything in terms of the game itself. You've been around a long time.
Right. And that's
and I get that. And you've written a lot. And I get all that. But sometimes you need to just stay in your lane But to charge up, Russell Westbrook, you get him one time, okay,
a couple times,
a couple times, okay. Third time's like, come on, bro, it's getting kind of stale. What are you doing? But when you go to the well over and over and over, and then with Shannon Sharp, it's like, oh, well, you had to retire at 35. Well, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Right.
He plays a whole different position.
Right. I took hits every play.
A much more physical position. I don't want to say physically demanding, because I'm not saying that the quarterback position, but you're there's a reason they wear red shirts in practice.
Right. We
protect the quarterback. Right. I mean, that is like if you ever played on an O-line, that's your whole job. Protect the red shirt, protect the quarterback.
Right.
And so to engage in an ad hominem attack, and it's a completely asymmetrical comparison, not because Shannon Sharp was not great, but because
Hall of Famer.
Right, exactly, Hall of Fame, but because you can't compare a tight end to a quarterback.
Right. Right.
It's apples and oranges. Yeah, there's both fruit. They're both football players.
And that's where the comparison.
But that's where it is.
And so here's my direct message to Shannon Sharp. Because I even saw their show today where Shannon basically had to just stop.
Couldn't get a word in edgewise.
Couldn't get a word in. He was like, forget it. Let's just go to the next thing. So here's my direct message to Shannon Sharp. If somebody knows him, please send him this video. Skip Bayless cannot stand alone.
Correct.
He needs something to stand with. Stephen A. Smith can stand alone. You put Stephen A. with anybody, it's gonna be fine.
And I feel like Shannon Sharp could do a solo show.
Shannon Sharp has the #1 growing podcast right now.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't need this,
right?
I get it.
And a lot of people are calling, hey, look, man, it's time even players, other writers, people are like, they're cooking him. And they're literally saying, cancel this dude. I'm trying. Who said he should be fired?
That night.
There were some people that said straight up, you should just be fired for what you said and how you handle this. And I'm not about cancel culture, but at some point, it's like, look, bro, you have shown us a repetitive, habitual nature,
a certain thing,
and it's always demeaning melanated men.
And it's all, and and people don't, and then you always try to make everything black and white. Well, most things are black and white. So look at who Skip hates, like Russell Westbrook. He will say that to
cows come home.
LeBron James. And we can go down the line of all these other black athletes he has so much great criticism for.
Right.
While he upholds
Tom Brady.
Now, Tom Brady is, I wouldn't give him greatest quarterback of all times, but he is the greatest, as far as production. Like, he's won the bowl so many times. It's like, what do you
he's great.
He's great. He's having a rough year. You can't, even the greatest Tom Brady fans will say he's having a rough year. Some of that is team stuff. Yeah. And some of that I think is just him. He got a lot of stuff going on.
Got a lot personal stuff.
Personal stuff. So your mind's not, we get it. Yeah. So, but he will uphold Tom Brady in a rough year. Aaron Rodgers is having a rough year. Who didn't see it coming though? He didn't think it was coming back for a while. Team issues. Personal issues, he will uphold Aaron Rodgers, but will nail other athletes who've been kissed by the mother son. He will run them, and so at a certain point, what do you say? It's just strict analysis, or you just say, "Hey man, this dude is sure if he's not a racist, he's racist-ish."
It's just racist.
It's just what I mean.
It just is what it is. Because if you can't criticize not one athlete that has descended from the Caucasus Mountains, if you don't have criticism for not one, but you got all the smoke
for
everybody else, does that make sense?
It was so bad watching it in real time. It was so bad.
And he went to that same playbook. He actually went to the white female playbook. He just couldn't quite get the tears out. But whenever you have like a Karen situation, it's like, have a meltdown, start crying, and hopefully everybody will feel sorry for you and leave you alone.
And move on.
He just couldn't produce the tears.
Right.
Wasn't hydrated enough. I don't know what happened.
Drink more water.
Stay hydrated.
Who says, even watching the game that night, the last thing that was on my mind was the game continuing.
Right.
I see these grown men that have their back to Damar Hamlin. They're circled around him. They have their backs to him, trying to make sure the cameras don't pick up certain things.
Right.
I saw one of them look back, turn back around, and the tears started to flow.
Yeah.
It's more than obvious this is not a normal injury.
But you have to care. If you don't care, and it's, for lack of a better term, just another Negro.
Yeah, right. Roll him off the field and let's pick up.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Fill the spot with the next one.
Surely you got some more.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And so if that's the case, but look, you got Des Bryant.
Oh, Dez, that's who, yeah.
Isaiah Thomas, NBA legend Isaiah Thomas. I hope they fire you, bro. For you to even think of the game is very sad. That's Isaiah Thomas, a tweet, direct reply. They're cooking Skip.
Wow.
There's verbatim. We need to cancel at Real Skip Bayless ASAP.
Dez was another one that he
cooked him.
Yeah, he was all the way digging into Dez's personal things. He had some fallout, some family issue while he's playing with the Cowboys, and him and his biological mom got into some altercation, and Skip went all in on Dez in that situation, not knowing what the dynamics were of Dez's upbringing. His biological mother didn't raise him.
Right.
His grandmother did. So, not knowing that dynamic,
because he didn't know enough to care. He didn't care enough to know.
Right.
And again, it'd be one thing but this is what I guess is the bottom line for me. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Old country saying. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you're going to cancel Black entertainers, sports figures, writers, movie directors, whatever, at coaches, on a mistake, and there's no opportunity for forgiveness.
Right.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Right.
Now, the grace you want extended to you, extend
to others. Right. Don't be stingy with what's been so graciously given to you.
Right. And so my deal is, hey, Skip, Skip, you didn't give, so you don't get.
Yeah.
And obviously our better angels should be, okay, well, even though he's that way, we shouldn't be that way. But American culture.
Right.
If you don't give it, you don't get it.
Yeah, right. And then my thing with even with the co-host thing, you should have enough respect.
Just on the simple basis that this person helps ring the dinner bell at your house. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so in horse racing, all right, two entities participate. Okay, you have the horse and the jockey.
Right.
But whose name is on the trophy?
Right.
The horse.
Right.
No one remembers.
Right.
Who was Secretary as jockey?
Right. No, I get it.
Shannon Sharp is the horse of Undisputed. Skip just so happens to be there. And it's like, buddy, you should just be thankful that you got the right horse.
And see, yeah, I'm right.
You should be thankful that you got the right horse and enjoy the ride.
Right.
But you're literally, well, I won't say literally, you're figuratively whipping the horse that's winning the races.
Right. And that's why I think his podcast is doing so well. Because people they want to hear
his take
on things.
Yeah.
Then two,
his perspective.
He has such an open he's a great communicator, one. And then
good interviewer too. He's got a good interview situation.
Right. And he has an open kind of way about him and how he leads and stuff that Skip doesn't.
And for a wealthy, former, NFL player, I feel like he's pretty humble.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like he approaches because of his upbringing.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That keeps him
that keeps him grounded.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
He references his childhood and I'm
gonna send it to you.
Like his mother, his grandmother. As far as the conditions and what he had to do to go to school. I haven't seen the video. I think I've seen a still picture.
Him and Sterling did a video walking around the house they grew up in.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
Oh, man, it was so moving and touching. And he said a lot of things he wanted to do and get involved in school. His older brother, Sterling, wouldn't let him do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we're going to make it
so
we can better the situation for our grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And so to know that about him, like there's certain things that I would, if it's just me, I'm going to say it a certain way.
Right.
But I don't want to bring any heat.
Right.
To Shawn, my co-host, he's my guy.
Right.
So if you say, hey, look, I think this tweet was given in poor taste.
Right.
Whatever, it could be taken. Not that was your intent.
Right.
But it could be taken out of context.
And I feel like had Skip had the humility to realize that, hey, man, I made a mistake.
Man, after
fall on your sword.
No. After they cooked him for days, at least a couple days. Shannon didn't show up to the show yesterday.
Because he didn't apologize.
Today, when Shannon said something about I was hoping
he still didn't apologize.
He was like, hey, I'm not taking it down. I believe in the tweet. It's like
no one said anything about the tweet.
Like, out of respect for, if you don't respect
or leave it up, but recognize that, hey,
qualified, right.
Recognize that, hey, you had communicated something that you recognize how it could be taken, that it was insensitive. You wish you had done it a different way, and this is how you really feel.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Mea culpa.
Hey.
You see what I'm saying?
Is this not just what you just finished talking about? The Kyrie Irving thing?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It wasn't about what you meant. It was about how it was perceived, how it was taken.
Right.
Just apologize.
Right.
And move on.
But that's for black people.
And that's how it comes off.
That's for people that he considers less than. And it's not just black people, but because of the prominent, position of African Americans in sports, where we make up such a large percentage of the professional athletes, there's not as many opportunity for him to go hard in the paint on the Hispanic American, the Native American, the Asian American. I mean, who is Skip Bayless going to talk about? His prime targets, who he writes about every day and who he's made his living off of, is writing to other people about what mainly black people have done in the field of play.
Right.
That's how he's fed his family. That's how he bought his matte black Lamborghini Urus that I saw him driving around in, by simply relating what other people have accomplished.
Right. Right.
Not that you accomplished anything.
Right.
But
Can't
that
play
you,
dead.
but just that you wrote about what other men did.
See, I don't, and again, I guess so. My idea to Shannon would be, I hate to portray my thoughts and feelings on other people, but I've gotten old enough, and
I wouldn't be upset with him if we went to Fox Sports 1 and said, "Hey, look, I got a contract with you." Well, not necessarily that. I got a contract with you. I want to honor the contract, but I'm not working with Skip Bayless. You can give him another show, or you can give me another show, and
put the pressure on them to do something.
But I will no longer subject myself, because if I continue working with him,
this is going to be an issue.
This is now harming my brand,
right?
My reputation, right. My character, because I'm associating with this person that obviously is only associated with me in times of comfort and convenience. But as soon as something happens, he behaves in a way that's diametrically opposed to me and my community.
Right.
So
for my emotional well-being.
Right. So I'll have disputed and he'll have un.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And he can have his solo show, and if you can either pay me out my contract or
put me with somebody else.
Yeah, put me with somebody else, because then that way you're not, because here's why I don't want Shannon to walk away, is because then you feed the angry black man narrative.
Hey,
that you can't, you see what I'm saying? So you say, look, hey man, I'm willing to stay in the arena, but I can't work under these conditions.
Hey, look.
And so, because that's one thing that people will try to peg the African American community with, is that we're difficult to work with, that we don't do business, that we hold people up and stuff like that. So don't.
I feed that narrative. I feed it, because I'm not going to give you my emotional energy. I'm too old to argue.
No, I get it, but there's a way to go about it where you say, "Hey, look, I want to honor the contract." You see, I want to honor the contract, but obviously you see where I would take exception to these things, and it's not just one thing.
Right, it's several.
It's several things, Mr. Fox Sports 1 executive. It's several things.
Right.
Boom, 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 and boom. So here's the deal: we have irreconcilable differences. Okay, if you have a show for me solo, I'm in. If you have a show for me with a different partner, I'm in. Now, I'll finish up this season or, whatever. But next season, next quarter, whatever, we need to have a clear and definitive line in the sand as to when Skip and Shannon Undisputed will sunset.
Hey, and this gives validity to everything Stephen A. Smith has said.
Yeah.
The stuff that Skip said, oh, no, it's not true. Now everybody's looking at Stephen A. going, it probably was.
Maybe.
It probably was. And again, I say I feed that narrative because I'm too old to give anything my emotional energy if it's not going to. I've walked away from some stuff that could have been productive.
Right.
Just because I'm not.
I feel like there's a way to disagree without being disagreeable.
Of course.
There's a way to have an intense conversation that is still professional.
Right.
That at all times you can maintain your integrity, you can be a professional. You see what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you're a pushover.
Right.
You can be assertive, and you can also be complimentary
without being combative.
Without being combative. And when I say complimentary, I mean in terms of like a complimentary angle.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because there's not a lot really to compliment in this situation with Skip, but with Skip. But in terms of being complimentary, in terms of understanding my angle and the other person's angle, whenever you have a co-host type of situation,
right.
And I think that Fox Sports 1, it would behoove them to try to keep a talent like Shannon, because you can take any other sports writer, call the Dallas Morning News, call the Chicago Tribune, and you can replace. You can copy and copy and paste with ease some other sports writer from some other city, And I'm sure Shannon could have just as much chemistry with somebody else.
With ease.
With ease. Now, you keep Skip and go find another African-American Hall of Fame inductee from any major sport, from the NFL, from the NBA, from the MLB. Does that make sense? From the 3 major sports, you find another Black Hall of Famer that's going to deal with Skip to the same level of success and entertainment as Shannon Sharpe.
I don't think they can.
see it. I don't see
think
it.
They can.
But I could probably Google 15, 20 guys in top, markets that are sports writers that we could plug in, and Shannon would have just as good a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean,
All day.
Undisputed is built on Shannon's takes.
Right. And then you do need to have somebody. You can't just have 2 people that agree on everything. You got to have somebody that has a counterbalance. But this is not. You're not. Skip's not counterbalancing and providing another perspective or something else to consider. He's being disrespectful to Shannon Sharpe directly and by extension his community. And I have a hard time not feeling that it's not because of Shannon being a member of that community is why he's so disrespectful.
And then my thing is, even with that, so to Shannon, Hamlin is a part of the football fraternity.
Right.
So if you disrespect him, his condition, his family, you're disrespecting
right
the entire fraternity.
Right.
There's a reason that
it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood thing in terms of the profession. It's a brotherhood thing in terms of the ethnicity.
Absolutely.
The culture. Does that make sense? So it's on multiple levels. But I'm having a hard time, and I try to be fair and give people benefit of the doubt in a lot of cases, Moten. Like, I think a lot of times you'll press something, I'll be like, well, have you considered? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I try to be...
Because, I'll be like, Sean's rainbow bright. He sees the good in everything. Like, no.
I try to... Right. I feel like I try to see, the good or the silver lining or give people benefit of the doubt. But I'm having trouble right here, bro. Yeah. I'm just being real in terms of how I feel about this situation. Right. And I don't see any other way to explain it, bro.
Right. Right. I totally agree. I wouldn't be mad because Shannon has so many things going on. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad if he just walked away.
I wouldn't be upset with him. I feel like that would be a greater I feel like he would lose some and FS1 would lose more out of that situation than if, hey, just send Skip back to whatever city, go back to being a sports writer. You're going to have to trade in the Lambo for a Lincoln and live on a different set of means. But, hey.
Yeah, do you think I will?
Do you think? Go cover golf.
I learned.
Go cover tennis. Go cover... equestrian.
Right.
Go cover.
If somebody wants to interview with you,
right. Go cover.
It's hard for you to
go cover the dog show that I see every now and again. Right. Go cover whatever.
Right. Right.
And go write.
Right.
About sports and be a sports writer and do that. Retire.
I learned
right off into the sunset.
What is that country song? You got to know when to hold them,
know when to fold them. Know when to walk away. And know when to run.
Know when to run. Yes,
sir.
There's some things that are unrepairable that you just got to say, hey, look, it's unrepairable. It would cost me more of my, emotional and mental well-being to give into it, to feed into it, and just, it is what it is. Just, if I was, I got a T-shirt. I'm gonna wear it one day. I got a T-shirt that said, I'm gonna let God fix this because if I fix it, I'm going to jail.
Right.
and that's just
Yeah.
There's some things it's just it ain't worth it. That's
no, it's not.
If this is something that they can't see that needs to be the way the show happened today. If they don't see that this is something that needs to be fixed,
if that's not hard-heartedness, bro. You doubled down. Nobody even said anything. Nobody charged you up. In the anticipation, you go and cut off Shannon in anticipation of what you don't even allow him the respect to finish his thought.
Hey, and he moved like, okay, I see what this gonna be. Let's keep going. But
Right.
it's like, who wants to do now? What is the temperament of the show?
Right.
Now we can't talk about basketball, golf, tennis, nothing.
Yeah, because
There's this right. There's this elephant in the room.
Right.
So I mean, show's gonna be hampered either way. So you might as well fix it and
right.
let there be.
But FS1, if they have executives that have a 3-digit IQ,
do something.
They'll bet on the horse of Shannon Sharpe.
Of course. At least a horse that's run a race or two before and not, Skip has done nothing, won nothing.
And here's the deal. Again, easily fix with some contrition.
Yeah.
Just mea culpa.
Hey, I didn't mean it like that. If it was taken like that, I apologize for how it might have been perceived.
Right. Upon reflection, I realize. Right. Upon reflection, repeat after me, Skip. Upon reflection, I realize I could have handled it a different and better way.
Hey.
I hope that you could find it in your hearts to forgive me.
So I hope those same people that called Kyrie an idiot, namely Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, would see the similarity in the story.
Yep.
Not call him an idiot.
Right.
Now, but I know a lot of them
you won't do that.
Right.
They won't
because they got a master complex.
Right.
Him's been good to us.
Yes, a master.
It is what it is, man. You remember Django, Samuel L. Jackson's character.
It's like the house Negro is so invested that he calls the master's things our things.
Yeah, because
he can't see himself. He can't see himself separate from him.
Absolutely.
His identity is so entangled and entwined.
Absolutely.
And so if you find yourself in that situation,
amen.
Then.
Amen. Listen, thank you for joining us. Like I committed to. And if you don't mind, and to those that definitely believe in the power of prayer, let's whisper a word of prayer for Damar Hamlin and his well-being, that God will give him strength, and not just him, his family, who has to be anxious and nervous about the days ahead. That God will give them some peace and some strength during this season. So let's go to God in prayer. Dear God, our Father, we come to you because in situations like this, there's no other person or thing we can go to. We come to you asking that by your divine power and might that you look in on the Hamlin family. God, I pray now that you touch them. No doubt they are in hospital waiting rooms and they're anxious about the next update. And God, I pray now that you cover them with a sense of peace. God, give them the kind of peace that you promise us, the kind that surpasses what we understand the peace to be. God, I pray now for his mother, for his uncle who's been on a couple of times. God, I pray now for his brothers, his entire family. Then, God, I pray now for him. I pray now that you'd strengthen his body, that you'd heal like only you can. God, thank you for physical doctors, but we call on you, the doctor that's never lost a patient. I pray now that you'd heal his body by your power and by your might. And then, God, I pray now for teammates and even everyone who's involved in the NFL. God, I pray now that you give them strength and peace and lead them in the things that is right to do. God, I pray now that you show us all greater lessons, even in this situation, that we know no matter how dark our situation is, we can always turn to you. God, we thank you for what you'll do in days to come. We already call victory done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man, again, thank you for joining us. Don't just say thoughts and prayers. With Hamlin and his family.
Actually think.
Actually think and
actually pray.
that God would intervene and give victory in a situation that looks like it's filled with defeat. So,
and we want to hear your comments as well. So, leave a comment as far as what you feel in terms of how the situation is being handled, whether that's by the teams, the league, the things that we discuss in terms of, Skip Bayless, things of that nature. Voice your opinion. We want to read those comments and hear from you. So you just want to make sure that we continue in prayer. I have seen briefly that there were signs of improvement. That it wasn't specific as to what those signs were, but the ICU doctors, said that there has been some signs of improvement into today in terms of his recovery process. But again, he's still in the intensive care unit. So
critical condition.
Please keep his name lifted up in prayer, and just the whole situation surrounding lifted up in prayer.
Yeah. And please comment. Sean said he wanted to read the comments. Somebody please help me with Sean and let him know that LeBron James is the greatest player of all time.
Okay. Doesn't make it so, but that's okay. Leave the comment.
Again, I thank you for joining us, and if no other time,
just comment MJ. I want you to flood the comments MJ.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
If no other time, I really thought about that. I was like, man, I keep saying it. It's not just cliche, man. It's proven to be true over the last couple of days. Look out for each other.
Yes.
Pray for each other. Things come and go, but all we really have is each other. So, let that resonate in your spirit. The Hamlin family needs our prayers. Yeah. And so let's do our part by continuing to lift them and cover them and believe in prayer. So again, until we see you guys next time, grace and peace.